Realme GT 2. Best mid-range phone 2022, best cheap flagship. Last year I called the Realme GT the new flagship killer, and in true smartphone industry fashion, a year on there's a follow-up. But does the GT2 have the same killer instinct? It's not quite the same situation in 2022, partly because there's a GT2 Pro model as well. While that is arguably more of a flagship, it costs £699, the GT2 get much of the same hardware and features for £150 less. It doesn't have the LTPO 2.0 display with its variable refresh rate down to 1 Hz, and uses the older Snapdragon 888 rather than the Pro's newer Gen 1 chip, but for many people, neither of these things matter. In fact, the GT2 is a more well-rounded, better value for money option in many ways. However, if you already own a Realme GT, this new model isn't going to tempt you to upgrade. Design and build. Paper-like biopolymer rear. Bigger and heavier than before. Still not waterproof. In terms of design, it's nearly impossible to tell the two new phones apart. The GT2 and GT2 Pro share almost identical dimensions and styling, so this isn't a typical case of the Pro model being larger. Screen and speakers. 6.62 inches AMOLED. Full HD+. 120 Hz. The main reason the GT2 is bigger than its predecessor is the larger 6.62 inches versus 6.43 inches display, meaning it will appeal more to those looking for a big screen phone. It might not sound like much of a difference, but the original GT feels more petite. Otherwise, specs are largely still the same with an AMOLED panel, Full HD+ resolution, HDR10+ support, and a refresh rate of 120 Hz. Specs and performance. Still Snapdragon 888. Up to 12 GB RAM. Up to 256 GB storage. It's a case of all quiet on the Western Front when it comes to the core specs, because that bullet point list above is no different to the original GT. That's not to say the GT2 doesn't offer good specs, that's a solid offering, but anyone using last year's GT may be disappointed at the lack of upgrades here. With LPDDR5 and UFS 3.1 standards memory and storage standards already in place, Realme didn't really have anywhere to go. Cameras. 50MP main sensor. 8MP ultrawide. 2MP macro. 16MP selfie. Much like other hardware on the phone, the GT2 hasn't changed a whole lot compared to its predecessor in the photography department. 3 of the cameras are near identical, while the main sensor has actually dropped from 64 to 50MP, but this Sony IMX766 sensor has benefits like larger pixels and, even more importantly, optical image stabilization, OIS. Battery life and charging. 5000 mAh. 65W charging. Adapter included. This section is a real highlight for the GT2, as for starters the large 5000 mAh battery means the phone can last a really long time. Being at a computer most of the day at home means I'm typically a lighter user, meaning I could get 3 days of usage, but even at the weekend when I'm not tied to a desk it still comfortably lasted 2 days. Software and apps. Android 12. Realme UI 3.0. 3 years of OS updates. On the software front, the Realme GT2 comes with Android 12 and the latest Realme UI 3.0, so it's very much up to date. The latest version is nice and clean on the whole, with a look and feel similar to the Pixel 6. It also makes some nice refinements such as tweaked icon design, and there's a smart sidebar you can use to access your favorite apps or features no matter what you're doing. Price and availability. You can buy the Realme GT2 from the official store now, and the phone costs £499 or £549 depending on which model you choose. There are 2 SKUs of the phone available, so that starting price will get you 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, but paying the extra £50 will boost you to an impressive 12/256GB. As mentioned earlier though, the cheaper model is not available in the paper white or paper green models in the UK, so if you want the interesting biopolymer back, you're forced into the more expensive option. Realme GT 2 Specs. Android 12 with Realme UI 3.0. 6.62 inches Full HD Plus, 120Hz AMOLED display. Corning Gorilla Glass 5. Snapdragon 888 5G. Adreno 660 GPU. 8/12GB LPDDR5 RAM. 128/256GB UFS 3.1 storage. 50MP main f/1.8 Sony IMX766 sensor with OIS. 8MP ultrawide f/2.2 W/119 degrees FOV. 2MP macro f/2.4. 16MP front-facing f/2.5 Sony IMX417 sensor W/78 degrees FOV. Super linear dual speakers. USB-C. 5G. Bluetooth 5.2. Wi-Fi 6. NFC. 5000 mAh battery. 67W fast charging. 162.9mm x 75.8mm x 8.6mm. 200G, steel black, 195G, paper white/green,